Okay, here we are. This is session episode 12, Roaming Free Inside the Cage. And if you're watching us by recording through our archives, welcome. And if you would like to join us live, all the details that you'll need are in the notes. So just take a look. It'd be great to have you with us live and connecting with us that way. But feel free to just continue to watch the recordings as well. Good to have you with us. All right, we're going to be continuing in chapter one, and this is a great chapter, especially after the real dense and kind of headiness of the appendices that we read previous to this. This one is kind of lighter, a lot more, I don't know. I'm finding it fun. So hopefully you will too. We're going to start on page 7 tonight, which is going back a page, because we're talking about the three centers of experience, the body center, the heart center, and the mind center. So I wanted to go back and just pick up the first paragraph of the body center, because we'll cover heart and mind tonight. And then I think it'll be easier to have them all in context. So we'll do that. But we spent last week on the body center and had a lot of great discussion around that. So we won't go into that one in any detail. Before we dive into the text, is there anything from last week that anybody wanted to revisit? Something that didn't seem all the way developed? Anything you've been thinking about during the week?
I had I had a curiosity regarding how trauma impacts your Enneagram score, and that could be trauma of all kinds. But because I know that while I score a 9 when I'm resourced and all of that, when I'm in fear, I have some 4 qualities. And so I'm curious if the book goes into how this all lands. Probably not, because I think the essence of the book is not to hone in and identify fully with a score. That's kind of so un-Taoist of ours. But but I'm curious if the Enneagram as a whole touches on any of that.
Okay. Well, he actually is in the section we're going into at the back end of this chapter. He's going to be talking about how we as infants end up with the three centers of
Okay.
experience we end up. So he's going to talk about how those moments impact us and impact the infant. So he's going to talk about that much. But Nina's not here tonight. Unfortunately, she's back in the hospital, but she's hanging in there. But William, Kathy, would you have anything to tell Danielle about trauma-informed Enneagram types, shall we say?
I was thinking of Nina when the question was asked, because Nina would say guarantee that every type 4 that she's met, every artist that she's met has a history of trauma. Um, and yeah, I think Dave is correct. As we move forward in the book, he's going to highlight exactly where trauma fits in.
Okay. Good.
Essentially, yeah, trauma, everyone has some trauma, right, in their past. So the degree to how toxic that trauma is, or how
Mhm.
I determine how stuck we might be versus how free in the cage we might be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to piggyback what William said, the only things that I've really learned about the Enneagram and trauma is that sometimes your number can look very different when you are trying to survive a situation, for example, at a younger age, and then you come to find out that maybe you might be a different type of combination of numbers later. But when you go back and look at the trauma, you can see why you've used different kinds of skills or approaches to life because of the trauma. So I'm sure it's something that can be delved into with probably with some good therapy and things like that. But I think there's something to that what William is saying. So I think it's different with everybody depending on the level of their trauma.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I also imagine that it might also, where you're at when you take the test,
Mhm.
speaks to perhaps some of the outcome, of course. So,
Right.
all right, I don't need to delve too much into it, but
Okay. Well,
yeah.
all of the above. And I think it's a given, obviously, that our past experiences are going to be informing and creating the unconscious programs that we are living out, every single day. Our Enneagram types are going to be a result of our experiences in childhood that shape us. As well, it's a combination of nature and nurture. I mean, he'll go into that, and when he gets into the infant section, right after we get through these next two centers, he's going to go into the genesis of our types, our centers of experience. So I think he'll have a lot more to say about that. But absolutely, we are the products of our experiences, and especially the traumatic ones. So, all right, cool. Let's go ahead and start on page 7, the body center. And we're just going to read through this paragraph. We're not going to spend a lot of time with it. It's just to get us reoriented on the 3. So the body center, sometimes referred to as the belly center, operates viscerally through sensations and instincts. In the Taoist view, the body center is the seat of Jing Qi, or vital quintessence. Vital quintessence is life energy in its purest and most rarefied form, caught, as it were, in the act of transitioning from the non-manifest world to the manifest one. Frequently in these pages, I will suggest that the human soul can be regarded as a being, loving, aware. And so the being is going to relate to the body center, the loving, the heart, and then the aware to the head. That is, the soul can be thought of as the part of us that simply wants to be here, welcoming into awareness the miracle of life that is happening at this very moment. The body center is the home of the being aspect of the soul, or the aspect that seeks simply to be present. It is the center we most often rely upon when our very existence is being threatened. Jing Qi, therefore, is concerned with 3 basic functions: survival as an animal, power necessary to function within the animal hierarchy, matriarchy or patriarchy, and sexuality in its aspect of procreation. The awareness of the body center, therefore, is attuned to the physical energy of others and to the life force itself. The conscious aspect of body-centered experience is its quality of presence, sensed as immediacy, there, just so. Its higher manifestations in consciousness are the feeling of being grounded and solid, and of the discernment of power needed to act in a given situation. Its lower manifestation is an underlying sense of anger and resentment about how the physical world impinges upon the self with all of its demands and necessities. Okay, so there's a basic description of this body center. Remember, these are centers of experience. So the way that we experience and process reality, the way we process the experience of our moments. If you are a body type, then you're going to be experiencing that somatically. It's going to be this, you're going to feel it in your bones. And it's going to be that deep instinctual type of knowing. Okay. And we went through, we spent a lot of time last week with people who feel that they are body types, talking about their experience and how it lined up or didn't line up with what William Schafer is writing here. So let's turn the page and let's jump into the heart center.
What page are you on, Dave?
Now we're on 8.
Roman numeral?
No, regular 8.
Regular 8.
Okay. Arabic numeral.
Okay.
We're going to start at heart center, right, Dave?
Now we are.
Okay, where it says heart center, so that's the last paragraph of page
Steve.
8.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just clarifying that for. Okay, and myself too.
Sometimes we get lost, you know?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. What's the heart center all about? The heart center perceives through emotional pathways. The heart center of experience is concerned with the personal aspect of the life force, or human chi. Human chi is the energy we use to construct and maintain a sense of community with all living beings, and is related to the aspect of soul I call loving. Much of its activity lies below the level of explicit consciousness. The heart center is sensitive to the moods and feelings of others and to one's own perceived worth in their eyes. It endows what it knows with personhood, life, and value. Unlike mental perception that creates distance between knower and known, emotional knowing enhances connection between them. Just like vital quintessence, human chi also serves the 3 functions of survival, social, and one-to-one relationships. Okay, he went through a lot of stuff there. So let's go back a bit. Um, so the heart center is a center of experience, is concerned with the personal aspect of the life force. This is what we actually really feel, or the human, he calls it human chi. So the first one was the Jing chi, right? Vital essence, quintessence. And now we have the human chi. And the next for the head is going to be the Shen. But he's going to be breaking these down for us. Human chi is the energy we use to construct and maintain a sense of community with all living beings, and is related to the aspect of soul I call loving. Much of the activity lies below the level of explicit consciousness. So here again, most of this is below the waterline. And this is what, I mean, all of the body center is below the waterline. It's in the unconscious. And now much of this human chi is also below the waterline. And so the mind is the one that's going to be in the actual consciousness above the waterline. But this is what we're dealing with. It's always that iceberg kind of idea where most of it is underneath in the unconscious, and then you've got this aspect here. And so we've got this idea that the heart center is sensitive to the moods and feelings of others and to one's own perceived worth in their eyes. So think about what that's saying. It's sensitive to the moods and feelings of others, but to one's own, your own personhood, life, and value. I'm sorry, one's own perceived worth in their eyes. So once again, the heart center person is so connected to the other that they're seeing themselves and their own sense of worth in the other, and the way that the other perceives them, relates to them, responds to them. And so this is going to be truly a double-edged sword for the heart type, right? He's going to go into that in a little bit more detail. And this next line was, it endows, this is the line, it endows what it knows with personhood, life, and value. Anyone want to riddle me that? It endows what it knows. The heart center endows what it knows with personhood, life, and value. That's a really interesting sentence.
Wouldn't life like be experiences, like what you've experienced in life?
Well, here's what it's talking about. It's endowing what it knows. Okay, what this heart center person perceives in the other, perceives in the connection, in the relationship, it's going to endow. That means it's going to grant,
Right.
with personhood, with life, and with value. I mean, what it's saying is that this knowing of the heart center is going to be a lot more than just factoids in the mind. It's going to actually take on the aspect of personhood and life and value. This heart center person is so identifying with the other that the connection is equating with personhood, with life, their own and with the others. I mean, that's a big mouthful. That's a lot of what is going on. And it's a lot of what the heart person is placing on that empathic connection that we're having. I mean, you can think of a heart person as an empath, right? They're feeling, they're intuiting all of this, but they're putting huge weight upon it at the same time. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So unlike mental perception that creates distance between knower and known, emotional knowing enhances connection between them. I was thinking about that wonderful line from the Psalm. I can't remember which number it is, but it's taste and see that the Lord is good, right? So we think about the Lord is good. It's a mental conception. It's something that we can say about God from across the parking lot or across the cosmos. It really doesn't matter. It's just a mental concept. But when you add the word taste and see, taste and perceive, taste and know, the most intimate thing that we can do is to put something in our mouths. It's the most vulnerable thing that we can do is to put something in our mouths. Once it's in there, we're kind of cooked, for better or worse, right? So to taste and see, this is kind of what I'm getting from this idea of the heart center person, They're tasting relationship. They're not just looking at it and assessing it like the head person does. And it's even different than what the body person is doing as well, but tasting and seeing. Just like vital quintessence, human chi also serves the three functions of survival, social, and one-to-one relationships. Actually, all three of them do, all right? A little spoiler alert there. The emotional recognition system by which babies and parents bond and become attached to one another provides a survival function for the infant. The affection belonging system of human tribal identification guides the child to become a member of the social group. Finally, the emotional erotic ties of pair bonding provide people with the motivation needed to achieve intimacy with a partner. See how three of those build upon each other. If you're a heart type, you experience life primarily in and through your feelings. You don't have to go looking for them or figure them out through a process of reasoning. They just appear in your consciousness. You also read other people's feelings easily. You read other people's feelings easily. More importantly, you want to connect to others on a feeling level. This search for connection is your greatest strength, for it makes you compassionate and open-hearted. The disadvantage is that the urge to remain constantly connected to others can dull your sense of inner self, your inner sense of self, making it necessary for you to find yourself in and through the reactions of others. This can make you vulnerable to fluctuations in your sense of self-worth caused by other people's reactions, comments, and moods. That was a big piece right there in the last, right? The disadvantage is that the urge to remain constantly connected to others can dull your inner sense of self, making it necessary for you to find yourself in and through the reactions of others. This can make you vulnerable to fluctuations in your sense of self-worth caused by other people's reactions, comments, and moods. Okay. Is anyone resonating with this? Does anyone feel or know that they are a heart center person? Okay, got a couple, and they're both guys. Oh, here comes Lindy.
Well, I just see my daughter in that description because I didn't realize until more, the later part of my life, what an empath is. And she is a feeler for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And she kind of walks in a room and she tells me she just feels people and where they're at. And it was a problem for us because I'm not that. And she thought everybody was like that, I think. And so she thought I would be able to feel her the way she could feel me. And I said, eventually it was like, well, I need you to use words because I don't feel you instantly.
So, Lindy, do you see some of these downsides in your daughter as well, in terms of her self-worth fluctuating?
I see that it is a gift and it's also painful at times because she feels so deeply that when people are in pain, she can barely bear it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I read it in her. She loves deeply.
But do you see her sense of self-worth fluctuating also?
That part was the part I'm going, I'd have to think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to add, to me, I'm for sure I'm not a heart type, okay, because I already have criticism about it. So, but one of it is in the second paragraph. It says you also read other people's feelings easily. So I wrote here, how does this person know that you're right? How do you know you're right, that you read easily, unless you validate from that person? Am I right that you are anxious or suffering? Does one do that? So my head doesn't compute that. Anyway, second, the other one, and there was actually a lecture I just listened to this morning. It's talking about social media, fluctuations in your sense of worth caused by others' reactions, comments, and moods. So I know somebody who her self-worth depends on people's opinions of her. And I find it very irritating. And now we were talking about social media and how it affects us and also our kids growing up. And it says there too, things like a person's self-worth now, it depends on the generation. And I have, what do you call it? Are they Gen Z? I don't know. But you put a text, I go, what? They didn't give me a thumbs up? What does that mean? So now the self-worth, in a way, is now dependent upon the likes, the thumbs ups, the heart shape.
Mm.
And I find that, I don't know the word. It's not that it's dangerous, but it's not, it doesn't sit well with me.
And it shouldn't. This is one of the disadvantages of being a heart type. Although, whether you get likes or not on social media is not going to determine whether you're a heart type. That's going to be a different kind of connection, from a remote source that way. But yes, that's why I was asking. I don't know if I'm thinking of the same daughter that Lindy's thinking of, but just from what I know of her, I'd say no, I don't think her self-worth fluctuates. She seems to have a good sense of center. So remember, everyone's going to be on a spectrum here, and all of this is not going to apply to everyone, even if you consider yourself a heart center. So just remember,
Dave?
these are possibilities within the type. Yeah, Kathy? Is that you?
I was just thinking about an example of this that is kind of swirling in my head a little bit. I was thinking about what Ellen just said, and I'm thinking about in the days of my work where we had to do a lot of interviewing of people, and we would often do like panel interviews with multiple different people with one person that they're interviewing. And the discussions after sometimes would be, I could tell like a head person would be saying, well, a heart person might initially say, I really connected with this person. There's just something, I got a good vibe about them, and it feels right. They've got to feel right for this position. And yet you've got the head person saying, well, I'm not sure. I see a couple of things in their resume that are concerning to me. We need to check that out. You can kind of see the differences. And I think that part about self-worth is interesting because at times when a manager made a decision to hire that person that they vibed with and connected with and maybe ignored some of the other things, later when stuff started happening, like the person had been there for a few months, maybe the person didn't pan out to be as wonderful as they thought for their organization or in their job. And then that person who had that vibe with them kind of starts feeling disappointed. Like, oh, I'm depressed. The person that I connected with isn't working out in this job. Now, oh gosh, now my reputation, and did I see it wrong? So then they get kind of hung up a little bit, maybe on their self-worth because they put so much energy into connecting with that person and maybe ignoring some of the other things. So that's just one thing I was thinking about that might apply here. I don't know.
My
Kathy,
thought
do you consider
that
yourself a heart person?
I'm a body person.
Okay.
I'm more of the body type.
I would like to challenge an idea here. Can you the heart people, do they have all the empathy?
Well, not all of it.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, can you be a body person and an empath? Can you be a head person and be an empath?
I think so.
I suppose so, but no, we're talking about what you primarily lead with. So if you are an empathic body person, then you're still going to lead with your body, your somatic sensations about something, that doesn't even rise to the level of feelings necessarily. And so, yeah, but we're all going to be mixes. We're going to be on a spectrum,
Yeah.
not hard, clicks in terms of type. And so, yes, there's always going to be a mixture of this stuff.
Yeah, I feel
Absolutely.
that in all the descriptions. I feel
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Brady, chime in here, buddy.
well, the other thing I think is that all these types, in terms of the characteristic, can exist on a continuum. You could think of a heart type starting out being incredibly insecure and relying heavily on positive feedback from others, and at points even constructing behaviors in order to gain that self, in order to get that positive self-esteem and and positive feedback, but where it wouldn't land in a way that they really are secure with themselves. and see that same person at a later date being more secure with themselves, but still being a heart type.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we're almost
It's kind of
pathologizing.
more or less. There's a
It's
range.
fluid. It's fluid to some extent. I see what you're saying, Brady. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we're almost pathologizing it in terms of it needing,
Right.
positive self-esteem, which maybe is the way it starts, but not necessarily the way it ends up. I mean, I wonder if Mother Teresa is a heart type.
It turned out she was a type 8.
Really?
Yeah, she was a body type. Everybody thought she was a giver, but
Uh-huh.
Richard Rohr was just talking about this in a podcast.
That's
She was
interesting.
very
That
healthy.
is.
Yes.
That's really interesting.
So Brady, can you describe for us, what the sensation is for you and experiencing your moments through heart type? Does it come out the way that it's expressed here, or does it feel different for you?
Well, going back, I mean, I can see the trajectory of my own life. When I was a little kid, I was a really sweet little kid. I was that kid who would jump up anybody's lap and hug people and like people. But I also know that I was incredibly insecure and shy when I was a little kid. And so clearly some of that behavior was designed to try and gain acceptance. Uh, and then as I grew older, it grew into developing an enormous ego. Best jiggling. She's giggling. She's not jiggling. She's giggling. But developing an enormous ego in order to gain that acceptance and needed that. Someone once, when I was starting my career, said, Brady, which would you rather be, famous or rich? And foolishly, I said famous. But that's where I was at that time. And I believe I'm still a heart type, especially in terms of a sense of connection with people, a sense of seeing and feeling, experiencing the sacredness of another person, in terms of my sense of community. But you can't destroy me with a bad look anymore. A stink eye. I'm okay with a stink eye.
Brady, would you consider that kind of a graduation from codependence?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that'd be a good way to put it.
That's kind of what I was hearing in what you were saying. Yeah, it's interesting. Marion, would you like to chime in here, dear?
I just want to say, I don't think anybody would give Brady a stink eye.
You didn't know me when.
Well, I'll talk to Beth. I'm a little confused. Listening to what Kathy said and other people. I know I'm a heart person. I know that my childhood really probably has played a part in who I am. It wasn't a really good childhood. And I just remember being alone a lot. I don't remember. I remember that I could read a room when I was a kid, that I could know if I should go in there or not, or I kind of knew where people were. And I still feel that too. I am a feeler. I can walk into a room and kind of know what's going on, and I can feel what the whether it's tension or happiness or whatever. It's not always a good thing. So I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm really a 2. I don't know. I don't know. I'm very confused.
Join the club.
Yeah.
But you're definitely a heart type, Marion.
Yes.
I mean, she is a scary empire. It's just so for me, as the head type, it's just like I don't know where she's coming from a lot of times in the information that she gathers like that, that I have to read a couple of books to get, and then she's just got this stuff. It's always been so amazing to me. But then I've also seen the downside too, the way that she suffers through the things that she can glean, from people and circumstances that we may have shared the experience and come away with completely different, assessments of what we just witnessed here. And it's always been fascinating that way. But
it helps us have great conversations. For sure.
You saw what? Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah.
But you didn't ask him that? My gosh. Yeah.
And honey, do you feel that you have your self-worth fluctuate through the eyes of others? Do you still?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I think in the beginning of my being a pastor's wife, it was really, really hard. Or actually, when I became a Christian, when I first went to a Christian church for the first time in many, many years, I was a single mother and I was not accepted. I felt like I had a scarlet letter on me. And it wasn't until Dave and I got married that kind of lifted. And then when he became a pastor, that lifted even more. It was like, oh my gosh, there's Marion. She's really a human being. That was a hard time. And I did really have a tumultuous time trying to figure out who I was and where I fit in. And I didn't want to become something just so people would accept me. But I ended up kind of doing that at that church. I mean, I dressed frumpy. I just kind of tried to fit into this really strict evangelical mold, and it did not work for me. And then when Dave became a pastor, I felt that I had to be perfect. I felt that, people look at you like you're on a pedestal. And that was hard because I am far from perfect. And, it's through the things we've gone through in life where we can actually help other people. But I was always afraid to tell people my stories because I thought they would think less of me, where I could have been more helpful to people. But I didn't want, when you think, gosh, if they really knew who I was, they wouldn't like me. That was me 24/7, at the beginning. And now, unfortunately, with age, I'm not like that as much. But it took me getting to about this age to kindly free myself of those feelings, which is kind of sad, because you go through a lot of years trying to figure out who you are. And at least I did. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
Thanks.
Thanks, honey.
Dave, this is also making me think of like the early attachment relationship that kids have with their parents. And as babies, like we depend on this mirroring process with our parents to kind of make sense of our internal experience to some degree. And the idea of looking to other people to figure out how we feel, right? Or depending on other people to figure out how we feel or how to negotiate a particular set of circumstances is completely normal. And it's when Brady was talking about like not pathologizing all of this, like it's just the heart types just maybe get overly reliant on that strength, basically, or get overly invested in how people are reacting to them and maybe gauging too much of reality on that. But we all go through that. We all need that from our parents. We have mirror neurons that are meant for us to, like, we feel if another person is in pain and crying, we want to cry. If we see somebody yawning, it makes us want to yawn, right? It's like we're hardwired to feel and experience what other people are experiencing. So there's a very normal piece to this that can get distorted, especially in the face of trauma. and things of that nature.
Mhm.
And I know we talked about this idea before, like people who become empaths, almost everyone that I've met who is a really deep empath had a history of trauma. And I think you learn how to really pay attention to other people when we grow up in some of these dysfunctional environments. So going back to Danielle's early question about trauma, it's definitely baked in there.
Mhm. And Schaefer does a great job that we're going to read in the next section of painting the picture of the kind of undifferentiated consciousness of the infant, that then kind of solidifies or collapses into the kind of types that we're talking about. He does a really good job of describing that. So we'll hopefully be getting into that next week. But yes, that we are products of all of this. And that mirroring, of course, is absolutely essential in early development. It's again, do we get stuck there? And there's nothing wrong with being a heart type, obviously, but then it's got its dark side, just like every type does. And so we want to try to, again, where's the balance? So Mr. Prossman, I don't want to leave you out. Could you describe for us the experience of your heart type, but also I'm guessing that it's going to be deeply connected to music with you in some way, shape, or form, huh?
It is. So, first of all, everything that Lindy said, yes, including the self-worth. So, but I'm an outlier on the self-worth. One of the things you have to learn to do as a performer is accept criticism and know who's being sincere and who's not. And so one develops that kind of sense very early on, and you can tell if someone is coming to you with a genuine, I don't know, suggestion, or they're just being nice. So having to disconnect that from self-worth, that's the mental piece, at work. So I can see how this is all strung together too, because the very practice of being in the moment is a performer's it's their nirvana. That's what they're after, like being in that moment, being so present, which is a body thing. So, gosh, Dave, this probably asks more questions than it answers. But you mentioned music, and music is one way you can experience all of it together. So you get the emotional buzz, you get the feeling, and you get the beating heart, or the feeling in your gut. So that really helped me get it. But I had to learn the language because the only language I knew was music, and so I had to learn to talk about it. I had to start putting the mental part of it together. So it's like it's a spinning wheel. It's a really great thing, roaming free inside that cage, to be able to make it all work, just like for myself, let alone all the rest of y'all, just with me. It's taken
So you just
4
ran
years and
through
counting.
you just ran through all three centers.
I know.
So what do you think distinguishes you as a heart center?
So the heart thing is it's not, I'm not an empath, but I get that, read the emotions. It's hard for anyone to hide their emotions from me, but the really feeling comes through. And everything else that's connected to the heart kind of flows from there. But it fosters this sense of community that I didn't know I had until I was in my 30s or something. And it's strengthening that. And so the importance of relationship is very high on my list of what value is. Having quality relationships matters a lot. I don't have many of them, but I do have them that sustain me in a way that I can't really describe. And other heart people I've talked to have that same kind of thing in common. So I'd go with those as sort of the big two.
That's great. Isn't this the greatest group? I mean, each one of you is stellar in the way that you express yourself and articulate. It's just so great talking to you all.
I want to add something that I'm learning a lot about myself in these last 10, 15 minutes. because I'm writing notes. So the first one was Lori, when you first said, if somebody is something, can we be an empath? So I know me, I'm very head, I'm very mental. But when you ask, can one be an empath? I cannot be an empath, but I know I have empathy. And I'm thinking about, I'm not a brick wall. Oh my gosh. I'm thinking about my daughter who broke up with boyfriend number 3. And she comes in. So they were discussing this outside, next to his car. And she comes in saying, Mom, I just broke up with Zach. I go, oh, I'm so sorry. And I look out the window. Zach was crying.
Oh.
I went outside and I gave him a hug. And I said, if you need anything, you're welcome to just come. So I don't know if you remember, Jay, but this is boyfriend number 3 who I disliked because we
I
go
remember
out to
that.
eat.
Yeah.
You remember? We go out to eat. He's always with us. We go to Universal Studios. He's with us. My sister felt so bad for him that we paid, half of us split the admission. And this is Zach. And I felt like, yes, your girlfriend who you really wanted just broke up with you. So I didn't have empathy for my daughter. She was like, no, I'm breaking up. It was for him because it was devastating for him. And then the other one is with Kathy, what you said about the HR, and you look at the thing and there's vibes. So I have somebody, a friend who we got close, and she said something, oh, we are, like I did something, and she says, but I thought we were best friends. We are the best friends. And I didn't feel that. So there was that dissonance. Not that there's disconnect. Yeah, we enjoy things, but I felt, oh my gosh, this person is so needy and clingy. So this is my I don't know whatever number I am. I don't even know. I'm roaming around these Enneagram numbers. And then the other one too with Brady, when you said, yeah, you were shy, self-worth, you were wanting acceptance. Let me tell you, even when I was a kid, I didn't care whether I was accepted or not.
Wow.
Even to this day as an adult. This is me. You take it or leave it. This is me. And yeah, sometimes it has gotten me into trouble. But I don't, although I can adapt, but I don't change me to please somebody. Even one of my sisters told me, you have a heart of stone. But I tell myself, no, I do have empathy. Every now and then it surfaces.
A good distinction, Ellen.
Yeah.
Being an empath or having empathy.
Right. Yeah. So I'm learning.
Yeah, but they are very different,
Yeah.
Marion is a scary empath. I can have empathy, like Ellen is speaking. I am not an empath. And I don't primarily process through the heart or the body either, And yet I can have somatic response. I can have empathy. It's just not where I primarily go. That's not my go-to place.
Yep.
And that's the difference.
Can I just piggyback for a minute on some of what has already been said? Brady, I was thinking of you and Bill. My oldest daughter was a puzzle to me for the longest time, and she was both introverted and yet had this incredible gift of being able to tag my emotions before I even knew they were there. And she would surprise me and disturb me at the same time because she could read me so accurately. And she would, in her later 20s, I think she realized that she was starting to be fearful of what her gifts were. And she confided in me at one point when she could barely get into a grocery store because she could feel the energy and there was so much going on. The Muzak system was playing and people were yelling, and talking and crying babies, and she had to have a list. in her hand so she could manage what she had to buy so she could leave the store as soon as possible. You know, and I think in fast forward to today, I think she's realized that she was very unsure of herself and did have low self-esteem when she was younger. And she tried so very hard to fit in, and could be a functional extrovert, but it was not her primary trait, I guess. And this to this day, fast forward, she has learned to appreciate and has evolved, I think, her self-esteem to a point where she can appreciate her gifts that she does have. And it comes through in the way that she's raising her children. She takes that gift into their lives also so that she can help them to understand what's going on with them. And is very gifted in that way. And I'm filled with so much respect and admiration for her and she's done a lot of work over the years to get to this place. But she's learning to stand up for herself with her quite dominating husband, who is a force to reckon with sometimes, and is doing her best in that relationship, which is hard for her. But she, I so respect her ability to kind of understand me and help me process what is going on for me in a particular situation. And she nails it, more times out than not. And can still fall prey to codependence, that's still not too far off her map sometimes. But it's amazing to see how all of us can develop into using and appreciating how we were created to be, and knowing we have a purpose in this world to give to others. And each of us have really special gifts, no matter what number we start out with. We can draw from so many other pieces of the numbers on the Enneagram. I mean, I am also empathic, and I've learned, not empathic, I'm sorry, empathetic. I've got the benefit of having a 2-wing, which is a heart type. And I think I'm starting to connect to that so much more. And it helps me. It softens my oneness. When I can go into, like, it has to be this way. No, no other way will do. And I'm moving farther and farther away from that. So it's lovely how that evolution happens, I think.
That's great, Judy. Great.
Are we born with our basic personality? Are we born like this?
I used to have a professor, Charlie Leaf, who called himself a genetic epistemologist. And that was his theory, that we come out of the box with a set of instructions.
I tend to see that too. I think anyone who's had more than one child, you see that, there's stuff in our kids that we didn't put there, they seem to have that, but then it's greatly shaped, of course.
Yes.
So it's a combination of nurture and nature.
My doctor just had identical twins 2 years ago, and I just saw her recently, and I asked her, I said, can you tell them apart? And she said there are times where they're walking away and she has to remember, did I put pink on that one or orange on that one? But she said that their personalities are so different. from each other. One is very nurturing and nurturing to her sister, and the other one is an extrovert. So that's 2 years old, and she's seeing it. So,
And I think you can tell a little bit about the kid's personality while they're still in their mommy's tummy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So absolutely, I think it's a combination of both. But I think there's a school of thought in the Enneagram that we come into the world as our type, basically.
I believe that.
So in the closing few minutes, some of you silent types out there, any more heart types you would say?
By the way, Beth is a 2. She's a heart type.
Okay. Oh, I can definitely see that in Beth.
yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Sandy looks like.
Sandy? Oh, Sandy saying, yeah, okay, Sandy. But she's the quiet woman tonight, so she can't elaborate. But okay, Sandy. Anyone else? Anyone else see yourself as a heart type?
I still don't know what type I'm a, Dave. I can't tell whether I'm a heart type or a head type because sometimes I feel like I'm totally leading with my heart and running away with the emotions of the moment and the situation. And some days I just feel like I can really analyze things and get down to the meat of the matter real quick. And so I don't know what kind of shape I'm in.
Don't know what condition your condition is in.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
But Scott, just from banging around with you for 30 years, I would characterize you as probably more heart than head, although certainly you're more on the cusp. But the way you counsel and the way you pray with people and the way that people gravitate to you for those attributes and for those things, that's definitely heart as far as I can see. I would probably see you leaning more that way than head. But you've got the analytical part too. Like I said, this is a continuum, like Brady said. It's a spectrum.
I think Scotty's both heart and analytical.
Well,
I've known Scott as almost as long as Dave, so we've spent a lot of time together. I think that's where you are, Scott. You got a good heart, but you're a deep thinker too. So
I appreciate that.
And keep in mind too, I don't think they're going to talk about it very much in this book, but the Enneagram offers that you have a wing to either side of you that you can also gravitate to. It's usually one of the numbers that's adjacent. So you may pull from those characteristics of the number that's next to you that you're comfortable with during different times. So if somebody falls between a heart and a head, that could be possibly why.
Yeah.
Like Dave says, it's fluid. It really is very fluid.
Yeah.
One of the other things I wanted to share with the group real quick before we end up cutting us off tonight is I heard several people mention when they were talking about codependency. And it seemed, maybe this is my head kicking in and analyzing what was being said with what I understand about the person. There's a big difference that we've got to stay aware of between codependency and interdependency. Because it's okay to be interdependent. We depend on each other, we need each other, we help each other, we grow with each other, we form communities with each other. And codependency, you understand, I'm sure enough has been said about the effects of codependency that I don't need to get into the details of that, but I think it's important that we identify which one we're really dealing with.
Good point. Any other heart types? Danielle, what the heck are you, dear?
I'm a 9 with a 4 wing.
Yeah, but how about these 3 centers of experience?
I don't know. It's like last week I identified with some of the things with the 9, and then this week I always considered myself.
No, we're talking about body, heart, and head.
Yeah. 9 as a body. I think I resonated with some of the 9, and then I'm also resonating with some of the heart.
Oh, you're going to be difficult, aren't you?
I am. I will not be boxed in.
Don't put her in a cage, Dave.
Good for you, dear. Good for you. All right. Well, the rest of you all will be talking. Here, I thought we were going to get through heart and head tonight. See how you are? And then I get blamed for how slow we go by Doug on Sunday mornings. And it's not my fault. No, this was a great discussion. They all are. It's just terrific. And I hope that you're just listening to the voices, as they go by. It always amazes me the articulate nature of the group that we've got here. It's wonderful to listen to you all and the way that you express yourself. So thank you for that. So, all right, well, let's call it a night, and then we'll kick it in the head next week, and then hopefully maybe even get into some of the infant areas after that if we have any time left over. We'll see how much. But then you would think that probably the head types, the head cases, are going to be talking a lot more than anybody else. So it may not work out as I plan.
I think they're called head types, Dave, not head cases. So let's not go there.
I don't know. I can certainly
Speak for
speak
yourself.
for myself.
Okay.
Strictly for myself. Okay, Scotty.
Father God, we're grateful to be here. We're glad you're here too. And we just enjoy these sessions and the things we discover about our lives. And we're grateful for all that goes on here and the trust that we build with each other and the fact that we have somebody to be interdependent with. We have people in our lives that we can count on and who love us and care for us and guide us and direct us and contribute to our lives. So we're grateful for all that happens here, and we're grateful for you being in charge of everything. We love you, Lord. It's in your holy and precious name, Lord Jesus, that we pray and we give our thanks and we say our amens.
Amen.
Amen. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
All right. We'll see you
Right.
Friday if you're in town. Friday night is our soak and our memorial to Linda Georgie. And then, of course, Sunday is Sunday. So hopefully we'll see you both dates if you're in town. Good night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night. Good night. All right. Let's see. Good night, Sandy. Good night, Lori, if you're still there. And George is frozen. I never know if he's there. And Jordana.
What time does everyone have to be there on Friday?
5 o'clock.
Okay, thanks. I'll let them know.
Okay. See
See
you
you
then.
Friday.
Good night, Sandy.